You know those haunted houses you see on ghost shows where investigators walk through confidently with their flashlights, daring the darkness to make a sound? Now imagine one so cursed, so hostile, that even the professionals, the one who've seen it all, turned and ran. These are the homes where equipment fails, voices scream through empty rooms, and unseen hands reach out from the walls. The Monroe Demon House in Hartford City, Indiana. It started like every other investigation. A team of ghost hunters entered an old house in Indiana called the Monroe House, a place whispered to be cursed, but within minutes, something in the basement made them bolt. Cameras were dropped, equipment left behind. No one wanted to go back inside. In that basement, there was a crawl space hidden behind a sealed door. Locals said the air inside was thick and metallic, and that strange growling sounds could be heard even from the street. Now, when investigators entered, they reported hearing whispers coming from the walls, and one of them claimed to see a shadowy figure crouched in the corner. Later, bones were allegedly found in that crawl space, small, broken, and human. No one ever confirmed where they came from. Now, during a later investigation, two well-known paranormal investigators spent 72 hours inside the house. They described seeing orbs moving on their own, feeling cold spots rush through their bodies, and watching doors slam with no one near them. One investigator admitted that the house made him physically ill. Locals say if you walk by at night, you can actually still see the upstairs window glowing faintly, even though the power was cut off years ago. The Poplar Hill Nannie house in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Now, it was supposed to be a peaceful new beginning. In 2014, journalist and musician Tom Maxwell and his wife, Brooke, found what seemed like their dream home, a beautiful, historic two-story in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Now, locals called it Nannie, but almost from the moment they unpacked their boxes, the house began to turn against them. Brooke was the first to notice the strange things happening. She said it started with the feeling that someone was standing behind her, watching her. Then one night, she woke up, paralyzed with fear, to see a tall, hooded figure leaning over her bed. Its arms were unnaturally long, its hands thin and bone-like. It just stared at her, and then all of a sudden, it was gone. Now, from that moment on, their dream home became a nightmare. Doors had been locked, they were found open in the morning. Footsteps would creak along the hallway upstairs when everyone was downstairs. The house had a heartbeat. It breathed at night. Tom tried to dismiss it. Old houses make noises, right? He told himself that over and over and over again, but soon even he couldn't explain what they were actually seeing. One afternoon, a glass flew off the kitchen counter and shattered in front of them. Now, on another night, a door slammed so hard it cracked the frame. In a room no one had entered all day. Then came the scratches. Brooke stepped into the shower one morning only to cry out in pain as long red welts appeared across her back, right before Tom's eyes. It looked like something invisible had clawed her. And they both basically just stood frozen in shock. Now, after that, they actually began to see them, the apparitions. Now, Tom called them the spook parade. A woman in a 19th century bonnet appeared at the top of the stairs. A gray mist shaped like a man hovered by their daughter's room. Sometimes they'd catch sight of shadowy figures gliding silently from one wall to another and disappearing through them. Now, desperate, they brought in local paranormal investigators, but the team didn't last long. One man claimed that as soon as he entered the house, his equipment stopped working and his chest tightened as if someone was pressing against him. He described feeling a freezing breath against his neck, then hearing a voice whisper, "Leave now." Another investigator, a woman, ran out of the back room crying, saying something had brushed her hand in the dark. None of them ever came back. The Maxwells tried every form of protection they could think of: prayers, sage, salt lines across doorways. Tom even sprinkled salt along the baseboards and window frames, saying, if the house wants to be evil, fine, but it's not taking us with it. But the activity only got worse. Cold air would pour out from beneath doors, and the smell of perfume, old and powdery, filled the hallways at night. The family's dog would bark furiously at corners of the room where nothing stood, and the longer they stayed, the sicker they became. Headaches, fatigue, constant dread. After 9 agonizing months, the Maxwells couldn't take it anymore. They packed up in the middle of the night and left the house behind. Tom later said, "We didn't move out, we escaped." Now, to this day, the house still stands. Locals swear that even now, if you drive by late at night, you might see a light flicker on in an upstairs window, even though no one lives there. The Ammons Demon House, this is in Gary, Indiana. Now, this isn't just another haunted house story. This is one that left police officers, priests, and social workers traumatized. The year was 2011. LaToya Ammons and her 3 children moved into a modest rental home on Carolina Street in Indiana. Now, it looked perfectly ordinary, but it would soon be called one of the most terrifying true demonic cases in modern modern history. It started with flies. Now in the dead of winter, thick black flies swarmed around the porch, clustering on windows and doors. No matter how many they actually hurt, they kept coming back. Then came the sounds: footsteps on the basement stairs, heavy breathing in empty rooms, and doors slamming themselves shut. One night, LaToya's mother, Rosa Campbell, woke up to a dark shadow pacing in her bedroom. She said it felt like someone was standing over her, staring at her. It was pure evil. Now, what happened next pushed the story into legend. LaToya's children began to change. They'd talk to things that weren't there. They'd growl in deep voices that didn't sound human, and one day, in front of medical staff, one of her sons reportedly walked backwards up a wall, then flipped over and landed on his feet. Witnesses, including a hospital nurse and a DCS worker, confirmed what they saw. Priests were called in, exorcisms were performed, police officers who investigated claimed they heard footsteps echoing in the basement when no one was actually inside. Now, one officer's recorder malfunctioned, then began playing distorted screams when replayed later. When renowned paranormal investigator Zach Bagans heard about the case, he bought the house outright to investigate it himself. But from the moment his team arrived, things went horribly wrong. Crew members fell sick, cameras, stopped for no reason. One investigator collapsed, claiming he felt something enter his body. He described a very heaviness in the room, like the air itself was pressing down. He said he saw shadowy figures darting across the hallways, and once, something unseen slammed the door with such force that the actual hinges bent. After documenting everything he could, Bagans made a shocking decision. He had the house demolished, completely torn down, claiming it was too dangerous to remain standing. Whatever's in there, he said, should never have a chance to escape. Even skeptics couldn't deny that something unexplainable happened there. Police reports, social worker testimonies, and church records all confirm strange occurrences. And locals say after the demolition, nothing will grow on that lot. No grass, no weeds, nothing. The land is still empty today. A quiet patch of dirt surrounded by chain link fence, and residents swear they still hear voices at night drifting through the air where the house once stood. The Smurl haunting in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. For over a decade, the Smurl family lived in a nightmare that blurred the line between haunting and hell itself. From 1974 to 1989, Jack and Janet Smurl claimed their quiet family home was infested by something inhuman. It started with knocking sounds, flickering lights, and the stench of rotting flesh, but soon the attacks became physical. Their dog was thrown across a room, their beds would shake violently in the middle of the night. Janet said she was grabbed, scratched, and even attacked by something she couldn't see. Now, when famed demonologist Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated, they described the case as one of the darkest they'd ever faced. Now, during their time, their door slammed so hard the hinges bent and mirrors cracked spontaneously. Some paranormal researchers who visited the home reportedly refused to spend the night. One priest called it something beyond demonic. Eventually, the Smurls moved, but the house remained, and neighbors still claim they hear screams echoing from inside when the wind actually slows down. Ballechin House in Scotland. Now, long before ghost hunting TV shows existed, there was the Ballechin House, a 19th century mansion so feared it was called the most haunted house in Scotland. Now, the story began with Major Robert Stewart, who lived there in the 1800s. He believed in reincarnation, and he was convinced he'd return as a dog after his passing. Now, to prevent that, he reportedly unalived his own dogs so no other spirit could use them as vessels, which is insane. Now, after his demise, locals said the dogs came back for revenge. Guests heard barking in empty halls, felt cold noses kind of brush against their legs, and saw shadowy shapes moving at night. Now, when Britain's Society for Physical Research investigated, basically in the 1890s, their investigators were overwhelmed. They documented apparitions of a ghostly nun, phantom footsteps, and sudden crushing cold that forced them out of rooms. One researcher quit mid-investigation, calling the energy inside unbearable. Another refused to ever discuss what she witnessed. By the 1930s, Ballechin House was abandoned, and when it burned to the ground in the 1960s, locals said the fire glowed an unnatural green. So even in ruin, people still avoid walking across the land where it stood. These aren't your average haunted houses. These are places where reality seems to break, where investigators, priests, and skeptics all reach their limit. From basements full of bones to Indiana to ghostly nuns in Scotland, these stories remind us that sometimes there really is something in the dark that doesn't want to be found. So the next time you watch a paranormal investigation and think, I could handle that, just remember, these are the houses even the ghost hunters ran from. Which house would you want to visit though? If you could, let me know. I'm your host, Ashley. I'll see you later.